class. Welcome to your first content module, week 2, rhetorical appeals and femvertising. I will not be making a video like this every week, but because it's our first week of material that is related to English 1A and what you will be working on for your first essay, I wanted to walk you through a week's worth of work and remind you that, again, this is my view of our class. Your student view looks a little bit different, but to remind you that every module has a banner that tells you the week within which you will be working. Every module has a title, and that title is linked for you on the home page, so you can click directly and come to the module that you're working on from the home page. There will always be weekly information. You always want to read these first. They're lectures. So if you were in my face-to-face class, we would begin by talking about what rhetorical appeals are, and I'm going to do that with you shortly. I also let you know that even though your reading and writing response assignments are due at the end of the week, usually on Sunday, that you should be reading them right away so as not to get behind and be doing the work at the last minute. That is extremely important, as the information you'll be reading, such as the femvertising article by Nina Batty-Hewer, are complex and they have multiple levels to them, and the reading response assignments themselves have complex questions. So, even though this assignment is due at the end of the week, you should begin it early. There will also be usually a quiz during the week, sometimes on the reading, sometimes on MLA format information, which we will get started with learning this week as well. And there will always be at least one, if not two, discussion posts, which have 2 due dates. The problem with Canvas is it only lets you see the due date where you need to post your initial post. But remember that 2 days later, and usually these discussion posts are due on Thursdays, you have to come back into the discussion post and respond to 2 of your classmates. For this first module, you are broken into groups, and the groups vary. Some of them are 5, some of them are 6 people, and you will be working with that group for this entire module, and this module will end with essay number 1. So what I want to talk to you about briefly is that we are going to be working with some concepts, and femvertising is a type of advertisement, concepts that you will need to understand. These are lenses. So the rhetorical triangle and the rhetorical appeals that we will be using to discuss advertisements, and in particular femvertisements or hashtag movements, are located for you on the rhetorical triangle definitions. I'm not going to read these to you. They're there for you to look at. The rhetorical triangle is a series of points where a message gets conveyed to an audience. And each point has a awkwardly worded Greek word, pathos, ethos, logos, and then a definition for each. I like to attach audio files, kind of like this screencast, where you will hear me read and discuss what is located there. And then there's a text for you to read as well. So, one of the things on the rhetorical triangle is, and probably the most important aspect, is pathos, which is the appeal to the audience's emotions, the appeal to their feelings, their belief systems, their values. And pathos is what I call an umbrella term. That means it's a large term, and underneath that term are emotional appeals. So if I go back to the module, and these terms, these pages are available for you as links within your femvertising reading and writing assignment, but also here on Tools for the Course. Tools for the Course always is available for you underneath the module you're currently working on. Here is where you can access quickly my video lectures like this one. You can get help from Canvas here. The Purdue OWL for Writers 8th edition is here for you as a link. And then we just looked at the rhetorical triangle definitions. So underneath this term called pathos are the emotional appeals themselves, and they each have their own title. So there is the appeal to sex, the appeal to love and affection, the appeal to belong. There are about, I think, 13 of these appeals, and all advertisements, even ones that have good intentions, use these appeals. Often we see, for example, in the current femvertisements, we see a lot of appeal to celebrity. So we have famous actresses, we have famous female athletes, famous women who are telling us how we should respond to a movement, a hashtag movement, and why we should respond a certain way. It is not bad that you are being appealed to through your emotions, but you should, as a critical writer of your world and a critical reader of your world, understand that you are being appealed to through your emotions. An appeal here doesn't mean it's appealing or it looks pretty. It means an appeal you're like a beg. Okay, when I go to court and I'm trying to get out of my traffic ticket, I make an appeal. I say, "Officer, my odometer was broken," and that is an appeal. It's an emotional appeal. So this is a one way that you are being targeted through advertisements, even advertisements with good intentions, like femvertisements often are. So the third lens that you're going to use to read your advertisements that you're going to be working with right away is color. So you're going to be using the rhetorical triangle. You're going to look at, whether or not an ad is logical, whether it's reasonable, whether it's ethical, and how it appeals to me emotionally. And you're also then going to look at what colors they are using and other things too, like contrasts, lighting, camera angles, whether or not the product is close or far away. And again, on the color symbolism page, you have a visual chart, two of them actually, that discuss the meanings of colors. Most colors have both positive and negative meanings. There is an audio file that will walk you through and a transcript for those colors. If I go now quickly to the big reading and writing assignment for this week, I will see Femvertising Reading Writing Assignment. It's got the pen with the page, which means it's a writing assignment. It tells you the date and, of course, the point value. And this is a large assignment. Most assignments are going to be large assignments because you're doing only one of these a week. So I talked to you a little bit here about what hashtag femvertising is. I've made a video lecture for you to show you how to begin reading a visual text using the rhetorical appeals of ethos, pathos, and logos to identify the argument being made in that visual text. And then also pointing out things like colors and emotional appeals that may be in this practice ad. Okay? So you should begin by watching that because, again, this is a practice. It's a model for you of what you're going to be doing. And then each of these blue links is what we call a hot link. So I just went over the rhetorical triangle definitions, I showed you the emotional appeals definitions, and I talked to you briefly about the color symbolism charts and graph. Each of those are available for you on Tools for the Course, but they're also embedded for you as links in your assignment. The article that you're going to be reading, which you should do right away again, because you should read an article a couple of times, is Nina Badaheur's article from Huffington Post about how femvertising is making money for brands. And this too is a link that will take you directly to the article. At the bottom of the assignment, I always put some assignment directions where I tell you how to respond. So this is a numbered paragraph response. That means you too can write the number 1 and your answer. You should, however, be using double space and correct MLA format for citations, headers, and spacing. There is a link to the Purdue OWL where you can look up each of those terms and it will help you see what I mean by that. Each of the questions is what we call a reader response question. These are not yes and no questions. They're not questions that can be answered in 2 or 3 sentences. Each of these questions should be at least a paragraph length response. And a paragraph length response for an English professor is at least 10 sentences. For some of these, you actually have to answer more than one question. So that should give you lots of room to elaborate. Okay? You can read the articles, and this week you're also reading about how to read for your online class. You can read the articles with notes next to you on your laptop, okay, or on your tablet, or you can take notes by hand. But it is good to be writing while you're reading because I am not one of those teachers that assigns busy work. All of these articles, and you're going to read 3 of them in this section, are going to be used in your essay. you are going to be picking your own femvertisement to make an argument about, and you're going to be discussing the ethos, pathos, and logos of that particular femvertisement. You're going to be identifying the emotional appeals your femvertisement is employing, and you're going to be discussing color symbolism and meaning in your ad. So all of these are practice assignments. This reading response assignment is a practice assignment for the kind of work you're going to be doing with essay number 1. And then your discussion, which is due before your practice assignment, also has for you some visual aids. So as a group, if you're in Module 1, Group 1, for example, there are 6 of you, you're going to be watching this video, and then individually you're going to be responding to the prompt, which is listed here for you. Before you do any writing, you should, again, watch Eubanks' vidcast on how to write and analyze a visual argument. This is the visual argument, the 1 minute and 30 second This Girl Can, hashtag This Girl Can ad sponsored by Sport England. You want to watch these and take notes. You may need to view them several times. And then you're going to respond, just like you did with the icebreaker discussion, as a reply. So don't upload attachments. That makes it difficult for your peers to read. What you want to do instead is just reply in the reply box. And here, I've asked you about what the movement, Sport England's hashtag This Girl Can, is promoting and how it does it. I've asked you some questions about the people that are in the ad, the subjects, the models of the ad, and how they are conveying the argument, the message of the ad. And then I want you to practice identifying 2 pathos appeals, emotional appeals from the list. That definition list is linked for you here as well. There is some interesting music in the ad. I want you to discuss the music's role, and then which particular rhetorical appeal you think the ad is using the most heavily, ethos, pathos, or logos. So the directions are here for you. My assignments tend to be fairly full, but again, they're practice for you for the essay. And I hope that you are completing the orientation module so that you can be ready with the types of assignments you'll be doing, so that you can move into Module 1, Rhetorical Appeals and Femvertising with confidence. I always do my grading at the early part of the week, and we'll be getting scores back to you, feedback to you, and rubric information back to you right away.